Hello, and welcome to this remarkable program. My name is Jeff Long. I am what you might call a spiritualist. I am a member of the National Federation of Spiritual Healers. I've worked as a spiritual healer for many years. I've worked as a medium for many years. Ever since I was a young boy, I've had a dedicated passion towards spiritualism and the wonderful relationship enjoyed between spiritualists and their guides and helpers within the spirit world. Most spiritualists are extremely good at sensing auras. Not only the aura of people they come into contact with, but also spiritual auras, thus allowing communication with that spirit. A spiritual medium, for example, would act as a sort of telephone receiver, taking messages down the line. A sort of listening post to the spirit world. All spiritual mediums work closely with their own dedicated spirit guides and helpers in order to protect themselves from potentially harmful and disruptive communications. The spirit guide acts as a sort of filter, if you know what I mean. As you can already guess, this program is dealing with the mysterious and wonderful world of spirit. A world where we will all return one day after our time on this plane is over. So, how do spirits manifest themselves on this earth plane? Some people claim to have seen spirits in human form, right down to what they wear, with expression and movement added. That was not my experience until now. I believe that spirits can offer earthly images to a medium by utilizing atmospheric expression. Spirits can transmit messages in the form of silent words and feelings through a receptive channel to a medium, provided the medium's channel is sufficiently open and clear. A commonly used way for spirits to make contact or make you aware of their presence is by affecting the atmosphere, the atmospherics. And as I said, I believe that spirits can offer earthly images to a medium by utilizing atmospheric expression. So how would you describe this awareness of atmospheric expression? Well, spiritualists often describe the awareness of a spirit close by as a dramatic reduction in room temperature, for example, suddenly feeling very cold, or a sharp draft against their arm. Or they may describe seeing a spirit as a jumbled scribble of light darting across a room. If a spiritualist sees a spirit, or a person sees a spirit, usually it's just a split second, then it's gone. It's interesting to note as a spiritual healer, the healing energy passing through my hands by my guide is always detected as heat. This heat or healing heat energy can become uncomfortable if excessive. So a good healer will have effective communication with his or her spirit guides in order to minimize the uncomfortable nature of excessive heat during healing. I also feel the healing energy as a sort of invisible pressure. If you like, it's not unlike rolling a tennis ball around in your palms. You can feel the energy there, just as if you're rolling a ball of dough or something similar between your palms. Tremendous energy. So where is all this going? Well, this film has been made in order to show a series of 3 short video clips. Each clip absolutely amazing in its own right. In the first clip, you will actually see up to 3 spiritual images. The second clip shows a spiritual warning sign, which, by its very nature, defies conventional science. The third clip describes a graphical portrait showing just how powerful, awesome, or maybe sinister a spirit force can be. Don't expect to see ghostly castle walls, eerie lighting and stage props, or actors with scared faces acting like little girls. It's not atypical ghost hunting entertainment dreamed up by television companies. This is the real world. So no dramatics, no actors, and no preparation. The film is simply an amazing true insight, my insight, into the world of spirit, and I want to share it with you. In order to get the most out of what you're about to see, you must try to avoid skepticism. Try not to judge the content by considering your preconceived ideas and beliefs. And please try to view the content with an open mind. At the end of the film, you'll no doubt have your own ideas about what you've seen. So, the story begins in November 1996. We had just rented a house on a 6-month lease. The house was only recently put on the market by a family of an elderly couple who had recently passed away. They'd been living in the house up until the time they moved to the higher plane. And so the house became empty and the family decided, well, let's let it out. So along we came. The first people, then new tenants. After a few days into our tenancy, we became aware of odd things happening in the house. Doors and windows would rattle, as if something was being pushed against them. The doors would open and close at night when we were in bed. Sometimes the doors opened and then shut loudly with a bang that would wake us up. We would regularly hear footsteps walking to and fro across the empty bedroom passages, and strange odours would be present upstairs and then disappear as quickly as they were detected. The most disturbing problem I had to cope with was the upstairs front bedroom. There was a hostile feeling in that room, and it was always freezing cold, even though the room was centrally heated. I mean, it was much, much colder than a normal low room temperature. I would very rarely enter this room. We would always keep the doors, and this is one of the doors that would open and bang shut in the evening and at night time. From my early visits to the room, I could easily detect the presence of the spirits of 2 people within the room, both always in the same place, always facing the same way. An elderly man was sat in a chair, upright, looking out of the front window. His face was expressionless, as if he were passing time. An elderly lady I gather his wife, was lying in bed, staring at the old man, a blank look on her face. The odd thing was, I felt they were not communicating with each other, even though they were in the same room. It was such an awful, gut-wrenching, empty aura that surrounded these two wretched spirits. They made me feel like an intruder. And then the first visual sign appeared. It was just a normal morning. We were getting used to the odd door slam during the night and could more or less live with it. Although we were very nervous of the new happenings in the house. I went into the lounge and as usual began to open the curtains at the large patio windows. As I opened the curtains, I was amazed to find an absolutely perfect circle of condensation in the middle of an otherwise clear window, about 2 feet in diameter. But the odd thing was just how perfect the circle was in shape. I eventually found my video camera in order to capture the event on film. Though, by the time I found the camera and started filming, the edges of the circle had begun to dissipate. So, let's have a look at the first piece of film. Remember, the commentary you hear is not rehearsed. It's exactly as it happened.
I'm taking a picture of this, where they had strange happenings in the house. Unexplained noises, etc. And we've woken up this morning and we find almost a perfect circle of condensation on our window, about 2 foot in diameter. It's reducing as we speak. Go and put your finger on it. Is it on the inside or the outside? Well, how can I hold the camera and I'll do it? Okay. Have a look through the viewfinder. It's on the inside. It was almost a perfect circle. It was a perfect circle. It was about 2 foot in diameter. And the curtains were just shut, with nothing else there. I can't explain it. The window, the central heating is on. The windows are perfectly clear. You still see the remainder of the circle as it's reducing. Very odd. It's very strange. Maybe it's a case for the X-Files.
Well, what could you see at first glance? Probably nothing at all. When I saw the circle for the first time, in real time, in the room, I could see nothing but a circle of condensation. It wasn't until I played back the film that I became aware of an image at the centre of the circle. The image had dissipated at the bottom due to the time lapse while I searched for my video camera. but most of the image remained intact. It was the image of a man with dark, staring eyes. His piercing gaze was fixed upon something towards the kitchen area of the house. His facial features were prominent, with an almost photographic quality. The only inconclusive feature was his chin, because of the image dissipation. There may have been a beard, it certainly looks as if he had one. Let's freeze the frame in the circle to give you a chance to find the image. So there you see the circle, and if you look carefully in the centre of the circle, you'll see an elongated image by now because of the dissipation, but you'll see his eyes quite clearly. If you still have difficulty in seeing the eyes, we can try a more explicit version. This time I'll show you another freeze frame, but this time I'm going to have a rectangle fixed at the point where I want you to focus on the man with the staring eyes. Have a look at this. So there we have the rectangle, and you see the man there within it. And for those of you who can't see it, then we can make it a little easier. This time we'll have another look at the freeze frame, but this time we're going to see a drawing of a man's face, an image the way I see it. I've added part of his face, part of his skull, part of his features, but left the essential features intact as per the circle. Have a look, here we go. So there we go, there's the man. Notice his eyes and his features are exactly as per in the circle. You'll see at the bottom where his chin may have dropped. It may be a beard. But basically the image of the man, I think, is as it would be. Well, I hope you saw that. I find it truly amazing. I hope you did too. Now there's a second image that's quite visible within this circle. It's the image of a little puppy dog. I want to show you once more a freeze frame where this time I've positioned the rectangle over the image of the dog, over the place that I want you to focus upon. Have a look at this. Now if you notice in the rectangle, you'll see the dog's front paws and his ear and his head and the torso going backwards towards where the man is positioned. I can see it quite clearly. But for those of you who can't, we can enhance this image a little further. Have a look at this. So this is where the puppy dog is, and this is the image that shows his front paws coming out and his head and his torso going back. When we return to the original freeze frame, you may find that you can't see the back half of the dog, but the front half should be purely visible. So let's go back to the rectangular image of the dog. Here we go. Now I wonder if... So there we go. Now, you should see the front paws staring at you and the head of the dog. Try not to focus on the man with the staring eyes because it simply takes you away from the image of the puppy dog. So, To recap, in the original freeze frame, can you see the little Spanish puppy? Or the man with the staring eyes? There's another surprise hidden in this film, probably the most powerful image of all. It is an image of a young girl hiding in the bushes at the back of the garden. She's looking in the windows, and I strongly feel she's trying to tell me something extremely important that I need to know. We'll just move this back a little so that we may be able to see her. Let's have another look at the photograph. I've drawn over the image of the young girl in order to help you see her. There she is, hiding in the bushes. Can you see her? I can see her as plain as day, whether I've drawn her in or not. I'm sure that you will once you know where she is. But there she is, hiding in the bushes, looking in, looking rather scared for us. I wonder why. So, we'll now run the first film again. It's only about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes long. This time, remember to look out for A, the man with the staring eyes, B, the little spaniel dog, and C, the young girl hiding in the bushes.
It looks like a perfect circle.
I'm taking a picture of this. We have strange happenings in the house. Unexplained noises, etc. And we've woken up this morning and we find almost a perfect circle of condensation on our window, about 2 foot in diameter. It's reducing as we speak. Go and put your finger on it. Is it on the inside or the outside? Oh, how can I hold the camera and I'll do it? Okay. Have a look through the viewfinder. It's on the inside. It's almost a perfect circle. It was a perfect circle. It was about 2 foot in diameter. And the
Later that week, I was due to make an early morning business trip. I dislike early morning starts, especially in the winter. And this was smack bang in the middle of winter. Smack bang in the middle of a very, very cold spell of weather indeed. On the day, the southern counties of England was gripped by a spell of severe Siberian type weather, subjecting us to a very nasty period of freezing cold, sub-zero conditions across the area. And that particular journey that I was about to make meant I had to be out of the house by 7 a.m. in the morning. So it was about 6:50 in the morning when I decided to get out and defrost the car in order to make my journey. Everything outside was frozen solid, from the locks and the doors of the cars to the icicle-laden houses and deeply frosted grasses of the gardens across the street. I ventured outside to pick the frozen lock of the car door. I was unprepared for the shock that was about to confront me on reaching the driveway. There, in the middle of my car windscreen, was a circle, about 10 inches in diameter. An absolutely clear, perfect circle, cutting a crisp edge into the frozen surface of the windscreen. I ran back inside the house to get my video camera, and this is what I shot. Have a look.
It's the same kind of shape as on the windows in the house. Perfect circle. No reason why. Windows are completely frosted up. With that one circle, I don't know if you can see this. Absolutely hot. Like that. Explain that one away.
I'm convinced that both circles, the circle in the lounge and the circle on the car windscreen, were a form of spiritual communication that were linked in the same message. There's no other reason for it. The circle on the car windscreen defies the basic rules of science. After all, how did the circle get there, and when? It had to have occurred seconds before I left the house at 6:50 a.m. that morning. The fact that a warm circle was sitting on a steep sloping surface of frozen frost was simply amazing. What element was capable of creating such a defiant spectacle?